Welcome to the Atheist in Recovery podcast, where we talk about finding hope in recovery. And now your host, Dr. Adina Silvestri.
Hello guys, and welcome to episode 23 of the Atheists in Recovery podcast. And today starts our Movies That Move Us series. Well, continues our Movies That Moves Us series. And we are going to explore Groundhog Day. And so if you are a fan of Bill Murray, then you've definitely seen Groundhog Day. It's funny, it's warm, it's slightly romantic, but really what I want to talk about today is the magnificent plot. So to get you up to speed, Groundhog Day centers around Phil Connors, who's a weatherman played by Bill Murray, and he finds himself living the same day over and over and over again. Groundhog Day in a small town in which he finds himself. So let's talk about the plot. So the plot is interesting in that it sort of is boiled down into a couple sentences. When Bill, aka Phil Connors, is at a bar talking to two strangers who are intoxicated, but Bill has this, I'm just going to use Bill and Phil interchangeably here. He has this this sentence in there that I want to read out loud. He says, "What would you do if every day was the same and you were stuck in one place and nothing you did mattered?" And then one of the two gentlemen says, "Well, that about sums it up for me." And this is one of the main points I feel of this story. That this is it. I mean, this is our lives, and you know, it is mundane, and it is wash, rinse, and repeat. And so, what do we do with that information? Particularly if we're someone that's newly sober, or maybe you've been in recovery for a long time. You are numbing out from a lot of the emotions, a lot of the negative emotions. And so now a lot of people describe what they're feeling is sort of just this malaise, especially right after you stop drinking. And, maybe there's even some depression there. And so how do you work through that? I don't think that Phil Connors has the answers to life in this movie, but I do feel like we get pretty damn close. Okay. Let's move on to another part of the movie. So he talks about, does what we really do matter? And, as I said a minute ago, it's everything that we do is repetition. We thrive on routine. It keeps us safe in a lot of ways. I like when he's in this small town and he finds himself reliving the same day over and over again. And the music, the alarm clock music, is Sonny and Cher's "I've Got You, Babe." And so it kind of makes me think, who does he really have? Who has Phil? Who has us? I don't know. I think that he has himself, and he has to figure out what this journey is all about. Why is he still living every day, the same day, over and over again? And he begins to sort of experiment with this idea as he goes through pleasure. He picks pleasure first, and so he's, he realizes pretty quickly that he can, pick any woman that he wants to sleep with and do just that. he's and he dates around. He's before there was Tinder, the dating app. He's asking them. He's doing research on them on his day to day, and after a while, he knows everything about them. And so, you like ice cream? Oh wow, I like ice cream. You like Rocky Road? Wow, so do I. I also like Rocky Road. And so pleasure doesn't work out very, very well for him. It doesn't fill that void. And so things progressively get pretty dark, especially when his love interest Rita really wants nothing to do with him. It's, his tactics that have worked on other women aren't working on her, and it's almost like she has this enlightenment that he's chasing after. He doesn't quite know what she has that is missing in him, but he knows that she's special. And so he goes through a dark period of trying to kill himself in multiple different ways, driving his car off the cliff and, committing suicide, walking in front of a moving bus. And he keeps waking up and keeps reliving the same day. And then he starts to, the movie takes a sort of shift, and he starts to perceive suffering around him. And, that's when things really start to change. And it's almost like Phil Connors is having like this midlife crisis. And that's really where there's really kind of what the theme is about here is what is there? Is this all there is? Is this as good as it gets? And so it kind of becomes more about the process. And, he's having this midlife crisis and figuring out, what is happening. And he sort of realizes that, if he could just pay attention to the people around him, he starts to find beauty in the mundane. He knows when the bad things are going to happen. And so the next day he intervenes and, he saves somebody's life by giving them the Heimlich. And, he goes from the very dark and, the pleasure and then like the getting away with whatever he wants, doing whatever he wants to, how can I use this to just help somebody's suffering just be a little bit less? And then one of the more beautiful parts of the movies is when he finds a homeless man that previously he just didn't give the time of day to, and now he's really trying to help him out. And so I think it's less about Phil Connors being the best version of himself, because he really wasn't that bad at the beginning of the movie, other than, just finding people just to be a nuisance. Other than that main point, he wasn't that bad in the beginning, and he's not this saint at the end. It's sort of this nice progression of, of what there is really in life, and trying to just walk through the ennui. And so I thought about an example that I wanted to share with you guys. And, although currently my substance of choice is caffeine, I struggle with boredom as well. And so, just like anyone, and how do you break that up? Especially when you can't rely on substances anymore, when you've chosen to put away the drugs and the alcohol, and how do you, where previously that's what you turned to get your high or to numb out or to celebrate, where do you find that in the daily mundane? And so an example that I wanted to share with you guys is, I pick sometimes it's more frequent, sometimes it's less frequent, but definitely in December, I have more time off than I do at any point of the year. And so, I just pick a week, and I sometimes do this in the middle of the year too, but I pick a week and I just explore explore my city. I go into shops that I normally wouldn't go into. I drive out of the way after work and experience things I normally wouldn't experience because I'm too tired or I don't feel like it, or whatever the myriad of excuses are that I have that day. I force myself out of my very comfortable, very reliable routine, and I'm always struck at the beauty that surrounds us on a daily basis. But when our head's down and we're plowing through the paperwork and we're plowing through the to-do lists, we don't take that time to just breathe, just to breathe in everything around us. And so that's it for me in Groundhog Day, guys. I love this movie. I hadn't watched it since maybe I was in my teens. And what did I learn this time around in my later years versus my teens? Is that this isn't going to give us any great insight into what, who we are and where we're going as a human race, which is sort of, those are the questions that I started this podcast with. What does it mean to be human and go through all this suffering, and why are we here, and all those things. And so this movie doesn't do that for us, but it comes pretty close in that. It talks about just having compassion and just being kind to the people around us. And I think as we walk through our recovery from whatever the substance or the behavior is, we know this to be true. We know that when we help others, we're definitely helping ourselves. We're doing it, we're taking time out, and it's a nice act of kindness, but it's also really helping us just to get out of our heads and to just step into the world. And I feel like that's a realistic portrayal of life. It's not that we're searching to be the best versions of ourselves. And then if we do that, we will marry the love of our lives, because that may have been the theme that I received in my teenage years from watching this movie, but that's definitely not the theme that I take away from watching it now. So that is all I have for Groundhog Day, Movies That Move Us series. And I will finish with checking out our Atheist in Recovery closed Facebook group. After the new year, I want to be posting a lot more and getting more feedback from you guys and just connecting in a more thoughtful way. So head on there now. Just go to the Atheist in Recovery closed Facebook group and message me, and I will approve you admission. Okay, guys. Thanks. Have a great one. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Atheists in Recovery podcast. For more great info and to stay up to date, head over to atheistsandrecovery.com.